Hey YouTube, the reason why I'm doing this video is to talk about the abortion ban. I personally don't believe in abortions at all. But in this case, this it stands far beyond what one person may think it is. You can have a stillborn in you and they may refuse to remove the fetus because they're afraid of incarceration. Um, there are a multitude of incidents. You may have a tumor. Once they remove that tumor, they have to report the abortion of the tumor. Like once they dissect the tumor, and if they see a fetus in that tumor, they have to report it as an abortion, which can cause doctors to pretty much go to prison because it is still an abortion. So we really need to be mindful of the decisions that we're making when we say, hey, we're banning abortions. Because in certain situations, medical situations, let's say you're suffering from cancer. I had a situation where I was suffering from ovarian cancer. They caught it in enough time. So it didn't get to the point where I needed chemo. It didn't get to that. It was just basically on the the cervix wall or something like that. And so they went in, did a DNC, all kinds of stuff. I didn't get to the point where it was like a stage in ovarian cancer or anything like that. But it could have been. During these times, you could choose to have a baby or not to have a baby. But if you choose to have a baby and it hits like multiple different stages due to the pregnancy, you're exposing yourself to that. It was just a liability. The doctors were saying, no, we won't complete procedures. Another incident, we have multiple rape situations in our community. Could you imagine you're a young girl, you just turned 12, you start seeing your period. A man rapes you off and you're not allowed to get an abortion. Your whole life is over. This is stuff, what they're doing now with the law is stuff that took place back in the days and they're trying to bring it back. They're trying to bring back the obstacles. They're trying to bring back the things that people fought for to stop from happening. We had multiple young women in our community who was getting raped at young ages through incest and all kinds of stuff. They barely got to see their period, and they were with child, and these people that were raping them kept giving them babies. There was no way to get an abortion. There was no nothing. Yes, I was around in that time. There was no nothing. And these young women were forced, pretty much enslaved and forced to give birth to children, care for children that they had no partake in taking. So they went through what Mary went through with Jesus. They're they're forced to birth a child. Um, Even though that's not something that they did, they was virgins. Can you imagine being saved, a woman of God? You're a minister. Some man rapes you off. Some man rapes you off. And you're now forced to have a child. And now they have sexual predators now that follow you. They don't just leave you alone, they follow you. And once you have children, or once they rape you once, they rape you multiple times repeatedly without getting caught and without going to prison for this. How much are we going to allow to take place? I don't agree with abortion, but I cannot say that I would risk not, I would risk removing abortions altogether. I can't say that. I don't think that it's fair to the doctors to be incarcerated because this is old. This is what they tried to do back in the old days as well. Incarcerate doctors who was doing abortions, and then you had women that were dying in their homes trying to do a home abortion. We have to really look at what's really going on right now. They're trying to retroact and bring back all the stuff that was toxic to everybody. They don't want a wage law. So I'm gonna tell you right now, eventually they're gonna try to get rid of the wage law. So a joker will come and say, okay, well, I'll pay you a penny for doing this. I'll pay you $1 for doing that. They don't want you to really elevate on them. So we're going backwards instead of pushing forward. They're retroacting all of these Flintstone laws that weren't beneficial even in Flintstone time because it hurted the people. Right now, they want to implement a law where if you don't have health insurance, you can't be seen by a doctor. This is after Obama wanted to do a universal health care um, universal health care reform, which meant that he wanted nationwide for the whole nation to have insurance universally. That's how we ended up with the Obamacare plan and the healthcare market showing Obamacare. So we're dealing with so many different things. Like one team is trying to say, okay, well, look, I can see the trouble in this coming, and we're going to try to make something that sits up there and protects you. And the other team's like, man, forget their protection. We want them enslaved anyway. So they're doing enslavement laws, and we have to be careful about what we sign off on. We may not believe in it, but at the same time, it serves a purpose. No, I don't believe in abortion, but I do believe that we have to keep abortion around because it is serving a purpose. And that purpose is healthcare wise. You would never want to have to deal with a tumor growing inside of you constantly that was connected to a baby that were never able to be removed from you that's a stillborn. And now you have an oversized stomach for no reason at all, but the fact that they cannot perform a procedure because it's still consistent with an abortion. And they're not going to tell you that now. Oh, they're going to sugarcoat it now. But wait until later on. Let's see how much they sugarcoat the stillborn that's a tumor that continues to grow into a larger mass. And you'll have to go to court and go all the way to the Supreme Court at that. Because when you go to the Florida Supreme Court or when you go to the local judicial courts or whatever, or the courts of appeals that are locally, they're not going to approve it. It won't actually get approved until you go to the Supreme Court. So let's not put something into law that will tie the profession's hands. Now, we don't believe in abortions, but I do know for a fact once you have that fetus can be donated to science. So it can be used for research purposes. That's abuse to me. It can be also killed. I'm just putting it out there as well as I can. It can be killed. It can be raised to a certain age and be used for all kinds of stuff once it is raised to um, the age of maturity. And someone else is raising it, someone else is taking care of it. These fetuses can be, even though it's removed from you, it can still be um, grown outside of the womb. Um, we really need to think about what we are doing when it comes to the bans that they're trying to put into place. I remember one time I went to vote and they did not want Americans to have access to their own solar panels. They wanted control of the solar panels. That's enslavement. But they were telling everybody to vote for them having control of the solar panels. Remember cable? We only pay for cable now because they voted that in. You weren't supposed to pay for cable. Cable was supposed to be free to you. A lot of stuff that's supposed to be free to you, you have voted against your own freedom. Take the time, read some of this stuff that they're putting on the ballot, read the proposal. When Obama did one proposal, they sat up there and they got angry with him. They said, this proposal has so many large words. And I know that we're taught as a people to come across very articulate and very intelligent, and making sure that we use a higher dialect. But we have to realize who our audience is. Our audience is the masses. And to use a high dialect says that you're hiding something. Because if every other word a person has to look in the dictionary, yeah, you're hiding something. We don't know what it is. But when we sit up there and we look through the dictionary for all 56,000 pages you wrote, we began to find that you had this, that. This is part of the reason why a lot of times as consumers we're looking at like Netflix, we're looking at all these TV shows, and they begin to put terms, policies, procedures, privacies acts, and all this different stuff into place. And you start scrolling down, and it's like 100 pages almost, and you just like, just say don't steal my stuff or something and just be done with it, type thing. Or we have copyright laws or whatever the case may be, and you can't violate our copyright laws or whatever the case may be. But no, it extends farther than that, because they're trying to obtain something from the consumer, which makes the consumer not want to sign on. If it takes 100 pages for you to explain a certain situation, I suggest you should have did like a video or something, other than making the person and hit key points within that agreement that needed to be stated, that would be abnormal for a normal agreement. These people infringe upon our rights daily. Be careful what rights you give them, because sometimes some, they connect certain stuff to our religious beliefs. Why are they connecting it to your religious beliefs? Because it's gonna compel you to do something. Um, we have to be careful, because our consumption as users, and I'm going to tell you why they call us users, that's a form of addiction. And the whole purpose is to bend several addictions that we may be um, accustomed to. Like I said, I, I was accustomed to, hey, if you're not working, you don't have no job or nothing, sign up for food stamps, sign up for Medicaid. When I started to notice that, or housing, these are times when you don't have, this is what people have put into place for you. These are opportunities for you. Don't swarm them. And I started to see that my housing situation is under attack. They might as well give the people money in their hands. These people are under all out attack living in housing. um, Rape situations going on. Multiple different situations are taking place. People that get food stamps, they feel like they're selling their children to groups and malicious groups that are against the government. But the government put all this stuff into place, but their purpose is to consume the resources using your name while you're not consuming them. Their motives are to steal from the government, to help form their own militia groups in small areas that will form against the government, which pisses me off even more, because they're stealing from you, the person that really needs it, because they're putting you in these desperate situations so that you will never be able to climb up out of those situations. You're even willing to work for it. That's why they sat up there and took you through vision compromise, so that they can sit up there and they can steal money from you without you being able to register. That state, that little foggy state, or when you're sitting up there going through a state of confusion and stuff, that's not um, without purpose and intent. These people formed an intent that is malicious against the United States citizens. You really better know what you're dealing with. You better really trust in God and God's words in this season, because we're dealing with a a lot of people, and they're quick to say, "Oh, we're Egyptians." I don't care how black you is, you ain't nobody to me really if you're forming against our people. If you're abusing the people right here in the United States, I don't care if you Egypt itself, you ain't nothing to me because I'm a believer in God and I believe that God is able to pave ways. And I'm not going to sit here and allow you just to enslave me because you feel like you're superior. Because I know for a fact everything that you send out, you will have to deal with it. You will have to deal with it. And I like how people tend to switch things. What kind of mess is this? What kind of God this is that y'all serve? Whatever you sent out and your parents sent out up to 3 to 4 generations, that's what you get back in return. So I really like people to actually, they call me a care bear. So I really like for people to care. And the reason why I like for people to care, because whatever I send out into this universe, I gotta get back. Now, I'm gonna be real with you. How many times have I gotten back somebody that care about me? Child, slim to none. I never really get anyone that cares for me. And I realize that it is what it is. Because I deal with cipherers all the time. You want to cipher a blessing, you want to live a blessing that's not meant for you. But I'm serious. What you send into this atmosphere has to come back. When they're doing policies, when they're doing procedures, when they're doing consumer contracts, and all this stuff right here, a lot of this mess got tore in ill intent, all kinds of stuff in it. Be careful in your consumption. Never take it lightly. Never take it lightly because they don't care for us. They will sit up there and they will end a original contract agreement so that you can upgrade to a new contract agreement that is 10 times worse. So you're like, I can't access my account. I can't access this. I can't access that. You can't access it because they have done their little switch and their little tear trying to reap a harvest that ain't theirs and putting in other things in those agreements which you don't agree with. But because you have been a constant consumer, there hasn't been any issues. You go ahead and you just sign on, you register, do everything. I love these people. They haven't done anything to me. And now you have signed up for an enslavement agreement. Be careful, you guys. They want us addicted to so many different things. Like I said, there was nothing wrong with food stamps. It went broke. They need to fix it. It was perfect. But when they started targeting people that are on it, it creates an issue. There was nothing wrong with Medicaid. But when they start targeting people that's on it, it creates an issue. There's nothing wrong with housing, but they're targeting people because this is stuff that they want. They want the funding for it, they want the resources for it. Or they don't want the resources available to the people because it takes away from them trying to enslave them. Can you imagine? The housing market here in this area is so deplorable till it's ridiculous. You want to charge somebody $2,000 almost for a one bedroom, $1,000 for a one bedroom. You're sleeping in somebody's apartment and both of y'all sleeping in the same apartment together and you're paying $800 just to sleep in an apartment with that person, and that's considered discounted because the apartment itself is almost $2,000 to $3,000. And they're saying, hey, I just need a roommate to help relieve some of the burden of having to pay $2,000 to $3,000 for a two bedroom. You have to know what we're dealing with. But why is that? Because we have housing laws that are not being implemented because they don't want them implemented because they want us to work harder. We're working harder and receiving less. We're dealing with inflation constantly. Inflation of food, inflation of housing, inflation of gas, inflation of a multitude of different things. And it's not without ill intent. They have an intention to make sure that you don't progress. We have to be so aware of the fact that they don't want us with anything, that we cover our own self. Be careful, people. This is not going to be an easy battle. Battles like this are not easily won, but we must be mindful that it's a lot of things taking place. This year, when you go out to vote, make sure you know what you're voting on. We are dealing with a slave society that only wants to enslave us more. Can you imagine the panel board thing, the solar panels? By agreeing to this, you give them control. I went and bought solar panels only so I can be charged by you. This is how they do with the cable companies. And we're still trying to break free from that cable mess that they did, because cable was supposed to be free streaming, internet free streaming. It's not. Be careful. The decisions we make today to support may cost us tomorrow. And a lot of times you're not looking at it like that. You're not looking at the stillborn. Um, but you're approved for no abortion because you're pro. Okay, well you got good sense. There's no way in the world you're having an abortion and stuff like that. But you forgot the medical conditions that may lead to a person needing this. If it is considered a fetus, it cannot be aborted after this. So what this says, if it's tumorous to you, it will not be aborted. If there is issues medical wise with you, it will not be dealt with. You can have a large mass and the person says, I'm not sure if there's a fetus in there and therefore I cannot remove because of the fact that you have a large mass, but we're not sure if a fetus is in there and it's in your abdominal area, ovary area, vaginal area, whatever the case may be. If they lead it to that, they lead it to that. So now you're stuck with a tumor growing until they can change the law again. This is not something you want to do because it takes hundreds and hundreds of years to correct some of this filth and disgust and disgrace that these people have caused on our people. Be careful. Take care. Stay a good citizen, patriot, or Christian, or person of God. Don't give up. Hopefully, these words encourage.